この30世紀が消滅寸前の危機に陥った。以来時間内移動は完全に禁止されたが、万が一のために我々が存在する。
隊長、私も行かせてください。
いいだろう。
待て、新人ばかりでどうする。
お前いい訓練です。
Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us.
Mirai Sentai Timeranger!
What's up everyone, I'm the Kaishino Kami from the Toku and Animation News Network, and today I'm taking a look at Shout Studios' DVD release of Mirai Sentai Timeranger. Toei hired Gingaman's head writer Yasuko Kobayashi to finish off the 20th century with their next installment, Mirai Sentai Timeranger. In this show, time travel has become possible during the 30th century, and a police force known as the Time Protection Department is established to stop crimes that revolve around said time travel. The series kicked off with an evil crime syndicate escaping into the 20th century, taking with them a group of TPD cadets who found themselves stranded in the year 2000.
Time travel.
Time travel.
That's not possible.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
There, they decided it's up to them to stop this criminal family, now calling themselves the Londerz Family, from altering history while having to make a life for themselves in their new surroundings. Who are they? How are they going to do this? Let's take a look at our heroes to find out. The heroes. Their job is to capture the criminals and bring them to justice while ensuring that history is not altered. Yeah, about that. They are Tatsuya Asami, Yuri, Domon, Shion, and Ais. I'm pretty sure you can figure out which four are from the future given they don't have any last names. Nevertheless, I'm going to start with our Red Ranger, played by Masaru Nagai. Tatsuya is from Japan's richest family. This fact troubles him as he wants to make a name for himself rather than live in his father's shadow, but finds it hard to do because everyone knows who he is.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came.
そんなこと俺が気づいてないと思ってるのか?
This changes on the day he meets Yuri and gang, for they have no idea who he is, as he clearly wasn't important enough to history for them to know that information. Another fact that motivates him to be the best Time Ranger he can be. We constantly see him struggle throughout the show to be his own person, because there are also times when he has no choice but to use his family name in order to solve a crime that is being committed by the Londerz family.
そっか。達也さんならそういうところに顔が利きますね。
それは親父の話。俺はもう関係ないって。
仕事だぞ。個人の事情は引っ込めろ。
Nevertheless, it does help distinguish him from other Red Rangers, as he is trying to go against the flow of the stream rather than swim with it as Kenta, Kyosuke, and Ryoma did before him. Plus, it's kind of funny watching him be unable to pay a simple phone bill.
綾瀬どうもお前使ったよな。シオン分割いいよな。
ダメ。
Next up is my favorite of the Ranger team, the leader, Yuri. Yuri starts off as the show's brooding loner who will often not think of another's feelings outside of her own.
僕ユリさんを描きたい。
やるわ。私が彼のそばにいるのが一番。
バカ野郎！いくら捜査のためだって。人の心を踏みにじっていいわけないだろ。
We come to learn very early on that her dad was a detective investigating the mafia boss Don Donero. Donero had him assassinated along with the rest of his family, which only Yuri survived.
ユリ、危ない！
She then became a cop for the intercity police and was undercover as a cadet at the TPD when Donero escaped into the 20th century.
インターシティ警察マフィア関東捜査官よ。
嘘。
ドルネロたちが時間保護局を狙ってるって情報があって潜入してたの。
Her main motivation in life is to bring Donero to justice for her family's murder, which can also occasionally drive her over the edge, as in the case when she nearly murdered the hired hitman.
お前本気か。なんでそんなに俺を。
自分が殺した捜査官もその家族も
Do you have the slightest idea how little that narrows it down?
殺してそのブレスレットを奪った私の父さんの。
As the show progresses, she starts to develop a relationship with Tatsuya, laying on the pain of her family being killed.
妹がいつもせがんでた。でも私相手にしなかった。こんな子供っぽいことできないって。妹があんなことになるならもっと遊んでやればよかった。
Just like with Tatsuya and his Red Brethren, Yuri's story and growth throughout the show elevates her above many other Pink Rangers in the franchise, who tend to be nothing more than fan service. Sorry, Pink Ranger fans, but more often than not, that is the sole reason Pink Rangers exist. That's just the way it is. Even Domon slightly admits this in the special.
おお、女の子が2人もいるじゃん。うちにももう一人いるべきだよな、可憐な乙女が。
I should also mention that Yuri's actress, Mika Katsumura, also appeared in Kamen Rider Fives as Yuji Kiba's girlfriend in the beginning of the show. She was also married to actor Yusuke Tomoe, who was Kamen Rider Gills and Hayama in the two Godzilla Kyoru films. My second favorite character of the show is Tomohide Kozomi's Domon. Domon is the hothead of the group, always getting upset over the dumbest things imaginable while also being the playboy at first.
自分の安全とかさ、どうやって守ってる？最近痴漢とか多いでしょ。僕がさ、護身術教えてあげる。
He was a professional fighter until he got fired and tends to feel the most homesick between his cohorts.
同じだ。俺の家からいつも見てた景色とちょっとは繋がってんだ。
In a similar aspect to Tatsuya and Yuri, we get to see Domon build a relationship over the course of the series with a 20th century photographer named Honami Moriyama.
ほなみちゃんぐらいだよね、ロンダースを写真持ち込んでくるの。
行けば怖いもんなしですよ。そうだ、ここで一発タイムレンジャーの素顔なんてどうですか？
She initially starts the show off wanting to have the latest scoop on the Time Rangers in order to make herself famous, only to soon fall in love with Time Yellow, which changes her perspective.
タイムイエロー。
あんまり落ち込むな。な。
Of course, her career also gets her in trouble with the Londerz family every now and then.
Of course!
Thankfully, she isn't always having to be rescued Zelda style. Overall, Domon is a great character who is very likable, though he does have his moments of creepiness.
うまくいったらツーショットだ。ありがたく思え。
あんまりやりすぎんな。どうも。
やめろやめろ。
From here, we have the team's youngest member, the sole survivor of an alien race named Shion.
からどう見ても宇宙人っぽくないな。
ハバード星人だよ。
だから宇宙人だろ。髪の毛なんかそれっぽいもんな。染めてるのかと思ってた。染めてますよ。え？
Oh, Tatsuya, Tatsuya, Tatsuya. I love Domon's response too.
宇宙人ってなんだよ。宇宙にいりゃ俺たちだって宇宙人だろ。
そりゃそうだけど。ドルネロたちだってほとんどは別の星の奴らだぞ。
そう。
You may recognize actor Masahiro Kuranuki as I talked about him before in my Garo Red Requiem review. Shion is a lonely boy as he grew up in a lab that used him for experiments because they could. Think of him like Superman, but without him being adopted.
シオンが地球に着いた脱出カプセルの中で唯一生存してたハバード星人。他の星にもいるのかもしれないが確認できていない。全くの天涯孤独なんだ。
He comes to love the 20th century and decides to declare it as his hometown after being told he doesn't have to be born at a place to call it a home. His loneliness can sometimes cause him to doubt his friendship with the other Rangers, often getting him into trouble in the process.
水臭いんじゃないの？シオン。達也さん。みんな。
寂しいなんて言われたらこっちが寂しいだろ。何の相談もないんだからよ。
Nonetheless, he has a good heart and is the genius of the team, always coming up with their gadgets and upgrading their equipment when necessary. One of these instances revolve around a villain with super speed. Shion adds a new ability to everyone's changer called Excel Stop to counter this being. We also come to learn that he only needs to sleep once a year.
1年に1回の睡眠となると長そうね。
それほどでもないです。だいたい1週間ぐらいですから。
1週間
Wait, only 1 week a year? Damn! Imagine how many Toku shows I could watch if I didn't have to sleep for 51 weeks. Shion is also a bit of a psychopath who loves drugging people.
よく眠ってるな。
精神安定剤開けときました。
これは
興奮気味だったので精神安定剤を開けときました。
Finally, there's Ayase, portrayed by Yuji Kido. Ayase wanted to be a race car driver, but couldn't due to him dying from an uncurable disease known as the Osiris syndrome.
確かこの時代にはまだない宇宙磁力線病の一種だ。発病して1年か2年の間に突然心臓が止まる。
This disease would often leave him reckless in the heat of battle as he knows he is going to die from it. So he sees no reason to be careful if it means saving the lives of others.
バカなんだ。やば、あそこだ。おい、これじゃお前が動くな。でもいいから。
It was also Tatsuya's words about changing their fate that encouraged him to continue being Time Blue despite his disease. Though no one outside of Tatsuya knows about it, as he doesn't want the sympathy. It is intriguing to watch Ayase go through the motions of being a hero and having some silly moments while knowing what lurks beneath his fleshy facade.
君だな。免許取り立てでいきなりメンテになったっていうのは。よし。今週は交通安全週間でもあるし、君にはこの私が特別に実技の講習を授けよう。戦う交通安全。
One of the coolest aspects about the Time Rangers is by far their suits. They are really striking, the placement of colors are well done, I love the gloves, but the most outstanding aspect are their visors. Having each Ranger's visor match their colors was simply brilliant, rendering their suits as some of the franchise's finest. They were the first team to have colored visors. Okay, the second team. Fine, they were the first team in the traditional suits to have colored visors. Their weapons are pretty basic, consisting of swords that are meant to resemble clock hands and BFGs. Another unique trait to their team is that they arrest each villain by freezing them instead of destroying them.
僕たちの使命は決して命を奪うことじゃない。
Unlike the teams before them, there is no mentor figure to the Time Rangers. Yes, there is a man named Ryuya that resembles Tatsuya, who sends them their mechs upon request and will occasionally help out. But ultimately, the Rangers are left to their own wits. They're assisted by a robot sidekick named Tak, whose job is to relay information about the prisoners on the loose and then call for mech assistance. He's a pretty good character.
囚人ナンバー41毒不正な医療行為による殺人で圧縮レート500なんだ。こいつはただ切り刻むだけの手術で数十人もの命を奪っている。
Now, that does not mean the Rangers' allies end there, as the government starts to step in. If you recall in GoGoV, I talked about how the government started to work together with the Tatsumis to better Japan. Well, here, it is kind of the opposite. Tatsuya's father and the government decide to come up with their own force to protect Japan from the Londerz family, since they have no idea who the Time Rangers are, creating the City Guardians.
見ての通りだ。
無駄な抵抗はやめろ。
Among these guardians is a former classmate of Tatsuya, Naoto Takazawa, played by Shinji Kasahara. Kamen Rider fans know Kasahara as Neon's dad in Geats. He also appeared in an episode of Garo, while he was also the motion capture actor for both Zack in Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core and Bato in Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex 2045.
M ファイヤーが加わった今、以前とは戦力が違います。古い感覚での指示は現場を混乱させると思いますが。何
？Naoto grew up in a poor family and disdains Tatsuya's friendship.
明日うちの家がパーティーやるんだけど、絶対浅見くん呼べってうるさいんだ。
お前行く？
いや、滝沢くんはどうかな。うちのパーティー来ても知り合いいないだろうし。
His goal is to butter up Tatsuya's father in order to eventually become the leader of the city guardians, which ends up becoming a reality when he manages to become a 6th ranger deemed Time Fire.
それより練習台になってほしいんだがな。
ディフェンダー統合。
This gives him the power necessary to match Tatsuya, and while they will occasionally work together to save the city, Naoto wants nothing to do with him. He even tries to buy the Rangers to have his own team.
みんな、
達也さん。
達也。
聞くまでもないって感じだな。
He may seem like a sad individual due to his wants, but the writing makes you understand his point of view where you want to see him succeed despite being an asshole. The villains. As already established, the villains are known as the Londerz Family, named after the prison they were incarcerated in. Our main trio, named after forms of currency, are Don Donero, his mistress Gold Digger Lila, and a robot scientist, Gian. Together, they create the bosses of the Londerz family and will unfreeze their allies to have them work under their wing. Donero is an interesting boss as he truly cares for his men just as much as he does money.
俺は仲間内のいざこざが一番嫌いなんだよ。アーノルド、おめえもちっとは言葉に気をつけな。おめえは昔から仲間を大切にするやつだ。
One of the standout aspects of Donero is his ingenious ways of making it. At one point, he takes on a human form to create a company that buys up properties that were destroyed during monster attacks for cheap and sells them to real estate developers for excessive marginal returns.
私が手に入れましてね。
一体いつ？
買いませんか？お宅のビッグ計画に必要でしょ。
Unfortunately, there are no other villains that join in halfway through the show as we are used to seeing with the Sentai series, yet Donero's associates never tire due to their differentiating personalities.
Psycho.
Donero wants to own Japan through economics, Leela just wants to go on shopping sprees,
I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. Now I ain't saying she a gold digger.
Gian, on the other hand, wants to destroy everything.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Watching Donero's reactions to Gian are extremely stimulating as it constantly makes the viewer wonder how these two ever became friends.
Gian, あの恐竜騒ぎはなんだ？
それにヘルズゲートの鍵も隠してたなんて一体どういうつもりかしら。
まさにこういう時のためだ。
Then when we do find out during the last bit, it hoists a bittersweetness to their relationship. Suffice to say, when you see it for yourself, your face will resemble Gian's shocked face. Donero is voiced by Ruzaburo Otomo, whom you may recognize as Crocodile in One Piece, Dabura in Dragon Ball Z, and the current voice of Shenron in Dragon Ball.
だく、しょうがねえな。ファミリーってのは仲良くいかなきゃよ。
The foot soldiers are a bunch of robots made out of junk called Zenettes. They carry around with them swords that can act as guns and will often be in charge of robbing banks and escorting Leela around during her shopping binges. They can take on any sort of disguise needed, though it is funny how they stop moving like robots the moment they put on a disguise. And you've gotta love that Looney Tunes bit they did there. Lastly, we have the monsters of the week, who are prisoners that were unfrozen by Donero and gang. There are a lot of fascinating crooks from bomb terrorists,
20世紀のビルも吹っ飛ばしがいがありそうだな。
child kidnappers,
はい、トゥモローリサーチ。
We kidnapped your boy Goku and we ain't giving him back till you pay.
おい、なんだ今の。
crooked cops,
停車違反だ。金を払え、金を。そんなあだた赤信号なのに。うるせえ。俺が法律だ。罰金よこせ。
loan sharks, a thief. Wait, a thief? Did she murder someone?
泥棒程度でマシクレートになるんだ。
軽い罪でも3度目以上になると重罪とみなされるのよ。
Damn, that's cold. A doctor who purposely killed his patients during surgery.
Groovy.
A chameleon who can lick up his own name.
They are fast, faster than you could believe. Don't turn your back. Don't look away and don't blink.
A detective gone assassin. His name is Abel. You guys are making this way too easy for me.
久しぶりね、アベル。久しぶりね、アベル。久しぶりね、アベル。久しぶりね、アベル。久しぶりね、アベル。
君は僕の言うがままになる。
冗談じゃないわ。
A goon who runs a casino for fights that resembles a monster from Changeman.
貴様らタイムレンジャー。
そういうこと。
A hypnotist that can make an entire town kill each other. And this Steven Spielberg wannabe.
あいつだタイムレンジャー。自分の映画にワンシーン出演するのが僕の趣味でね。
Oh, my mistake. An Alfred Hitchcock wannabe.
私も行かせてください。
There's also a group of extremely dangerous murderers known as Hell's Gate that Gian likes to use against Donero's wishes, along with Gian's homemade robots.
20世紀のおもちゃがノーバーに通用などするか。
みんな死んでしまえ。
The monsters grow large by a side effect that occurred from being frozen when a prison seal is removed from their body.
せめて最後の崖を。
Most of the time, a prisoner will remove it themselves when they are desperate to win a fight. Then there are times where it is removed by accident, as Damone did here. And when others remove it on purpose, like right here.
お楽しみはこれからよ。やっておしまい。
The Mecha! Sadly, the Mecha is the least interesting aspect of Timeranger. Compared to the Mecha from the last few shows, the Time Jets are kind of bland. They can combine together to form a bigger ship known as Time Jet Gamma, or combine it into two different robot forms. The first is a range attack bot simply known as Time Robo Beta. Meanwhile, Time Robo Alpha specializes in close-range melee attacks. I like that there are different forms of Time Robo, and Alpha's sword final attack is pretty damn cool. But the mech battles leave a lot to be desired. They're borderline boring at times and occasionally feel out of place due to how short they are. Beta also rarely gets to finish off a monster. Thankfully, battles get a tad better when the next machine, Time Shadow, appears. However, repetition takes over again when Time Shadow starts merging together with Time Robo. They become Time Robo Shadow, either Beta or Alpha.
Time up.
There's a third mech that emerges from a rogue time portal with the arrival of Time Fire, V-Rex.
I'm the motherfucking T-Rex! I'm the motherfucking T-Rex!
V-Rex is a dinosaur with guns that also has a robot mode for better combat situations.
Voice formation, V-Rex Robo!
Despite only being featured in the last third of the series, they still found a way to make V-Rex feel a bit gimmicky, as he will be there whether the mech battle truly needed him or not. He doesn't combine together with Time Robo or Time Shadow, leaving him as a loner similar to his pilot. Lastly, the Time Jets are launched by a mech called Providus. He helps the Rangers out in an episode.
Hey, that hurts. No wonder no one came to my birthday party.
The effects and music. Time Ranger came out in 2000, which was after The Matrix had been released. And what did everything released after The Matrix do? Bullet time! Did you guys even try there? It's like you just ripped the scene right out of the movie but included your own characters and background. Whoa. I'm in a bit of a conundrum with this show, as there are a lot of great looking effects complemented by some truly bad ones, and I can't tell if they're actually bad or if it's due to the atrocious video quality. Except in the case of the CGI. The CGI is really bad. Regardless, the blur motion fight scenes are quite stylish, and there are a few episodes that have some impressive camera work. Oh, and we get a cracked visor. Ultimately, like I said, it's hard to judge based on the terrible video quality. On the other hand, I can most certainly praise the show's incredible soundtrack composed by Koichiro Kamiyama.
Londerz! 何の真似か知りませんけど、やめてもらいます。そっちこそ邪魔はやめてもらいますよ。
It is simply outstanding with so many stellar tracks to it.
神のごとく私が勝つ。
義援の逮捕は失敗か。
キャンバスも筆ももちろん食事もね。その代わり スナイパーモードならラテスさんを傷つけずにヒプノピアスだけを撃ち抜ける。リバウンドした今ならそれができるはずです。達也さん。
Jiku, the opening theme, may be the most badass opening theme in Sentai history. It is so fast-paced, energetic, and abrasive that gets your blood boiling for the adventure you are about to endure. Additionally, it is the first Sentai opening to be sung solely by a female, named Sasaku Kumi. Even the ending theme, Into Time, performed by Nats, is not so bad and feels like something you would hear out of a James Bond film. The episodes. There are so many amazing episodes in this show, with only one that I found to be lackluster. Even the clip show had some great moments to it. If there is anything I have to complain about as far as the tone of the show goes, it sometimes is a little too serious. Now, there is nothing at all wrong with the Sentai series being serious, but sometimes too serious makes certain moments of comedy feel out of left field. For example, there is an episode where a monster uses her beauty to make the male rangers fall in love with her. This upsets Yuri as she doesn't have a body to match the monster.
あなたには女としての魅力がないってこと。そういうのに限って嫉妬したりひがんだりするのよね。
So she has a makeover done. Afterwards, this is how the other rangers respond. Now, those Tex Avery-styled antics might seem funny, and they kind of are, but they don't fit with the tone the episode was going for. It feels mismatched. That doesn't mean the show can't pull off comedy well, it just has to work harder at it than most other shows do to its solemn nature. This leads into my least favorite episode of the series, A Dream of Soba. In this episode, Domon helps out a poor soba noodle seller who lost his job, his wife, and knows absolutely nothing about making soba noodles. Learn how to make them.
それすなわちそばの極意。そんなことも知らない人間にそばを打つ資格はありません。
He's out of line, but he's right.
At the same time, the prisoner of the week is a food critic who will burn down restaurants if the food is not to his liking.
なんだこのシャリは握りがないぞ握りってのは
For one, the entire premise is just downright stupid. The way the plot moves over the span of time doesn't make sense. It's hard to explain, but it's really dumb. Secondly, Domon acts extremely out of character here. He completely ignores the monster's attacks to help out this lackluster chef and gets very blunt about it to his partners when confronted, acting like a jackass.
ロンダーズのことを忘れているなんて最低だぜ。
もう一度夢に向かって走り始めようとしているところなんだぞ。それがそんなことなのかよ。
夢の方が大切だっていうのか。
It's not really all that fun as again, the comedy feels out of place and Domon is at his worst here. Even the concept of what the monster is doing makes little sense. How is this even profitable to Donero? It's not like he's making any money off of these destroyed restaurants.
Think about that. That's just dumb.
On a positive side of the spectrum, watching Donero brush his teeth is quite funny. As for my favorite episode, there were a lot of contenders as there are so many good ones, such as the aforementioned Battle Casino one, the one where Abel tries to turn Yuri into an assassin, and a Groundhog's Day-esque episode surrounding Naoto.
違いない。俺だけが同じ一日を繰り返してるんだ。しかしいつから俺は同じ一日を繰り返してる。1日か2日か
Notwithstanding, I have always loved the first time we are introduced to Hell's Gate in an episode titled The Renewed Bond. As I just said, this episode features the first Hell's Gate prisoner Gian frees after sending Donero and Leela on a vacation, and is the first time the Rangers really get their asses handed to them.
魔道が犯した殺人は1030件。
本当に申し訳ありません。あれ？チニー。
There are no parachutes in this show. Those people really are dead.
Damn!
Just watching a monster outright murder people for the sake of it is kind of refreshing, as Blaster Matt doesn't want anything in return. He just wants to kill.
人間だ。殺してもいい。
The Rangers have to learn how to overcome this new psychotic threat with new techniques. It really changes the game the show is playing, so like the Rangers, the audience has to curve their expectations too. Although, they could have eased up on Leela's tan.
さあ、美白しなくちゃ。シミ残ったら大変。
The movie! Time Ranger had a team-up movie with GoGoV. It features the return of Pierre, who had survived the blast at the end of GoGoV, powering up Donero's minions with magic since the Time Ranger's technology would be useless against it. Thus, the Time Rangers have to team up with GoGoV to defeat them, and they end up being split apart across time. The Reds end up in caveman times.
本当に、おい、助けてくれ。いや、これ本当いらないわ。ありがとう。いや、お腹いっぱいなんだ。許さないでよ。仲間だと思われてるんじゃないの？
The Girls in Yellows in the Wild West. And the rest in feudal Japan. Naturally, they find a way back thanks to Takamando, and Pierre and the Monster Boulevard fuse together for a final confrontation. It isn't a bad movie. The two Ranger teams have some great chemistry, and there are some pretty good scenes. I especially like the one here, which I have been waiting to see the entire series. It's a good time and far better than the previous team-up movie, The DVD. Shout has given us the best possible DVD they could provide. Here is the cover, the spine, the backside. It's a case with trays, and we have episode titles and production images. Why do I sound so negative? Well, because the DVD looks like shit. However, that has nothing to do with Shout Factory, rather Toei. The Region 2 DVDs were released back in 2004, and they are hands down some of the ugliest looking DVDs ever. Toei never bothered to remaster the video then, and that is what they gave Shout Factory to use 14 years later. What's worse is at times it looks like they just copied VHS tapes onto DVD. It's especially sad considering how good the Time Ranger vs. GoGoV movie looks being remastered in HD. Thankfully, Shout Factory has provided us with a solid translation for their subtitles that are timed properly. My only minor nitpick is that they still haven't figured out how to have song lyrics displayed on the screen at the same time as dialogue, making you wonder why they even bother in the first place. There are two lines that flew by too quickly due to Japanese text appearing on screen that Shout needed to translate. They also occasionally translate the English dialogue.
Lead Commander mounted. Lead Commander mounted. I'll record your voice. Input a start-up code. Lex check. Lex check. Voice input system on. Go ahead.
Other than those nitpicks, this release is just as solid as GoGoV's. Lastly, included is the special episode that has the Time Rangers going through history to talk about all of the Sentai teams that came before them.
次は9番目電撃戦隊チェンジマン全宇宙の脅威大星団ゴルマンを倒し宇宙の平和を守ったスーパー戦隊だ
Okay, I know it isn't technically a bonus feature because it aired on TV, but it isn't part of the actual show's story, so I consider it to be one. It's kinda cool, and I'm sure this was a huge help for kids back in 2001 when it first aired, but it does seem kinda obsolete in this day and age thanks to the internet. Still, a great idea nonetheless. Though, I am mad that they spelled Kyuren Ranger correctly during the Die Ranger segment compared to how they did it on the actual series DVD. The downside of being released before Shout figured their crap out. Time Ranger is a solid entry with excellent characters, concepts, and moral complexities. It does suffer from some forced comedy and lackluster mech fights. Nevertheless, Mirai Sentai Timeranger is definitely worthy of a 5 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. Even with its minor flaws, Timeranger is one of the greatest Sentais ever made. Everyone should set time aside to watch it. Until next time, bye.
まだ調整がうまくいってないようだな。